With most movie theaters shut down over the past year, streaming services dominated the nominations for the 93rd Academy Awards out today. Netflix's Mank leading the nominations with 10, including Best Picture. The nominees in that category include Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. And for the first time in Oscar history, more than one woman has been nominated for Best Director of the same year, including the director of Nomadland and for Promising Young Woman as well. A lot of history being made. Let's bring in film critic Richard Crouse, who's standing by in Toronto. Big day for you, Richard, as a film critic, to see these nominations. Initial reaction?
Initial reaction is that the nominees are pretty much who I thought would be nominated, although there are a couple of snubs here that I think are quite glaring, but there were also a number of surprises that kind of made me quite happy. So overall, like every year, it's a mix of the good and the bad.
What are the biggest snubs, do you think?
I think Ma Rainey's Black Bottom not being nominated for Best Picture is a real surprise. This is a film that people gravitated to. This is a film that has unbelievable performances from Chadwick Boseman, from Viola Davis, who were both nominated for their acting work in this film. Viola Davis actually becomes the most nominated Black actress in history with her nomination here. It's her fourth one. And I thought that that movie deserved to be in there, particularly when you have 10 slots open for films in the Best Picture category, and they only filled 8 of them. So there's 2 empty slots. I didn't really understand why that film wasn't nominated. And I wonder about Shaka King not being nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah. Here's a film that is nominated for 2 of its performances. It's nominated for Best Picture. So I guess the film directed itself because they didn't choose to give the director a nomination here.
What about history being made with 2 female directors being nominated for Nomadland and Promising Young Woman?
Yeah, it's really quite surprising that in the 93 years of handing out awards, that only one woman has ever won. Catherine Bigelow won for directing Zero Dark 30. And this year is historic. You've got Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, which is a tremendous film that's been cleaning up at all the critics awards. It did really well at the Golden Globes. And then you've got Emerald Fennell, who also, if you don't know, plays Camilla Parker Bowles on The Crown. She's nominated for directing Promising Young Woman. So it is a big year there. And I have a feeling that Chloe Zhao might actually take this award. So that would be the first time an Asian woman has ever won an Academy Award for Best Director. That would be some history made.
Oh, yes. So what about your read on the criticism that we've seen in recent years about the Oscars and a lack of diversity, Richard? And I'm curious to get your take on this year's nominations. Do you see progress being made?
I do. The Oscars, unlike the Golden Globes, have really taken steps towards diversifying their membership, towards having a cold, hard look at the films that are being nominated and the kinds of movies that are being nominated. The Academy, to move forward, like every major cultural institution, has to reflect the audience that is consuming its art, and that is a diverse audience. So the Oscars, I think, are taking giant steps. The Golden Globes, maybe baby steps towards it, but the Oscars every year take bigger and bolder steps towards gender parity and really having a look at who is nominated and making sure it's a diverse field.
And what about the evolution of not only movie making, but how we watch and consume movies? Most of these movies we're talking about were viewed on streaming services, Richard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. A number of years ago, the Academy was grappling whether or not to even allow Netflix movies to be nominated for Academy Awards because they have very specific rules. And they felt that the Netflix films were television movies. They weren't playing in theaters by and large, and they were consumed primarily on television. Now, Netflix obviously has worked that out. They bought some theaters. They open their movies theatrically now. This year, the rules were changed because of the pandemic, and most of these films anyway went direct to streaming. So they changed the rules for this year only. Netflix now has the most nominated film of all of these. Mank has 10 nominations, and I think you're seeing the streamers like Amazon also coming here very strong. And the Hollywood studios are, in some ways, taking a back seat to the streamers who are making interesting movies. They are releasing them in a timely way and finding huge audiences for them on their services. So it's an interesting time to see an industry change right in front of your eyes. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
The show delayed till April the 25th, and I'm wondering whether you
Mhm.
think there'll be any kind of in-person presence, Richard, by the time we get to that.
Who knows? I think that the success of the way that they pulled the Grammys off yesterday after what was kind of a lackluster Golden Globe show, looked like a very elaborate Zoom call that didn't work particularly well. The Grammys managed to pull this off. So even if the Academy Awards, which are going to be broadcast from two locations, from Union Station in Los Angeles and from the Dolby Theater, where they typically would broadcast out of, I think that you'll see that they will have an in-person presence, not as much as before. But I think if you look at the Grammys as now kind of the gold standard, or the Emmys last year, which also did a very good job of doing a virtual show, that you can pull off one of these award shows, make it interesting, keep it on time, and still not have to put anyone's life in danger to win an award.
Good point. Richard Crouse. Good to have you on the program today, Richard, and thanks for taking some time as always.
Thanks, Todd.